Animal lovers and social justice warriors rejoiced in the spring of 2019 when an unlucky rhino poacher died a grisly and rather unusual death in Kruger National Park. According to those online, he had got what he deserved. After all, what kind of person kills an endangered animal just to make a few dollars? This is the story of the poacher and his instant karma. Kruger National Park became South Africa's first national park in May of 1926. At more than 7,500 square miles, or 19,500 square kilometers, it's the country's largest natural reserve. Kruger is most known for its iconic African animals like elephants, lions, hyenas, and rhinos. It's also home to hundreds of species of birds, fish, mammals, and reptiles. Hunting is prohibited in Kruger, but animals of all shapes and sizes are often killed when they cross onto public and private land that's adjacent to the park. And sadly, poachers kill scores more inside the park each year. The global trade in poached animals and animal parts may be as high as $25 billion per year. In Africa, elephants and rhinos are killed for their tusks and horns. Of the approximately 23,000 rhinos in Africa, around 20,000 live in South Africa, and nearly 80% of those reside in Kruger National Park. Needless to say, it's ground zero, and with around 300 rhinos killed there each year, many of them dying horrific deaths. Generally shot with rifles or tranq darts, the horns are sawn off as close to the snout as possible. Sadly, many are still alive during the process. They often bleed to death, die from infection, or get devoured by lions and hyenas. With powder from the rhino horn being a key ingredient in traditional Asian medicine, China and Vietnam are the key drivers behind the trade. It's thought to cure everything from cancer and diabetes to arthritis, and even erectile dysfunction. However, studies show it to have no actual health benefits. And in addition to powder, horns may be carved into figurines that sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. While the poachers themselves get pennies, smugglers, middlemen, and retailers make the lion's share of the profits. Typically selling for $23,000 per pound, or up to $50,000 per kilogram, the horns that can weigh up to 8 pounds each fetch an enormous amount of money. In May of 2019, a rather noteworthy poaching incident took place when 5 armed men snuck into Kruger National Park. According to a BBC article, their plan was to shoot a rhino, cut off its horn, and sell it on the black market. However, things didn't go to plan. We don't know much about the men, as incident reports exclude personal information. Offenders are simply referred to by gender or just individuals. Policy implemented to prevent the humanization of the poachers. However, shortly after entering the park, before they could get their hands on any rhino horn, a herd of elephants charged the men, and although 4 of them escaped, 1 of them got trampled. For context, an adult elephant weighs between 2 and 7 ton. Unsure of the fate of their friend and fellow would-be poacher, the men who had escaped contacted the family of the unlucky one, who in turn contacted the police. Shortly thereafter, park rangers and search and rescue helicopters began searching for the man, but in the dark of night, he was nowhere to be found. The search ended 3 days later when officials found nothing more than a skull and a pair of trousers. While being trampled likely killed him, the lions had got to him in the end. Kruger National Park's managing executive, Glenn Phillips, expressed his condolences to the victim's family in an unprecedented move. That said, his response was far different than those posted on social media by irate animal lovers. They generally said things like, "Karma is a bitch. It's a shame all 5 didn't die. I hope the lions had seconds, and they deserved it." While this man received the hardest punishment of all, for the 4 who survived the incident, their future will likely include a hefty prison sentence. Most of us may assume poachers are nefarious scoundrels getting filthy rich selling animal parts on the black market. However, most are poor South African locals trying to eke out a living, and, as already mentioned, see virtually none of the profits. More than 550 African park rangers have been killed in the line of duty since 2011. Shockingly, about half were murdered, and few of their killers were ever brought to justice. An example of a recent murder of a park ranger occurred in 2022 at Timbavati, a private game preserve adjacent to Kruger National Park, when poachers killed 49-year-old head anti-poaching ranger Anton Mzimba, a man who dedicated his life to saving Africa's most endangered species. His family and colleagues described him as focused, dedicated, and totally incorruptible, and it was these traits that made him particularly unpopular with poachers. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd love it if you subscribed and joined me for the next one. For my story about a crane that collapsed on the Miller Park Baseball Stadium, you can click the link on screen. And as always, thanks for watching.